Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Southern Wealth. I do hope you're having a wonderful day. If you do enjoy the content, please consider dropping that like and subscribe. Now, I wanted to make a short video on the stock market. So you may have seen that we are, pretty much flat to slightly up in the amongst the majority of the indices. I think Russell 2000 is the outlier on the negative side. Bonds are slightly up, but they're still in these high levels in terms of yield. And what I think is happening right now is we are just progressing in these boring sideways channel, and I don't think we're gonna fall very far from here, at least for the rest of September. And then October, November, December, we'll see how the final quarter of the year performs. Don't forget, it's been a very strong year this year. I do think we're going to see new all-time highs by Q1 2024, Nasdaq 100, Dow Jones, S&P 500. Just to be clear, Russell 2000, I would call it fitty-fitty. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, the key question is, and I've already started to see this narrative, is the people who live in permanent state of the world is ending and the stock market is gonna basically go to zero next week, and everything's gonna collapse and inflation is gonna go to 500%. All this kind of stuff, right? The Peter Schiffs, the Harry Dents, the Steven Van Meters, all these people, right? We are back to this nonsense. And what many of them are pointing out now is the oil prices are rising. So oil prices rise, energy prices rise, costs in the economy rise, inflation readings go up, Fed needs to tighten, stock market crashes, bond market crashes, blah, blah, blah. Again, everybody's seeing it. Well, first of all, just by the way, everyone now seems to agree that oil prices can just go up, right? I would say, and also based in some cycles that I've been seeing, we actually gonna approach the peak in oil prices, I expect, close to later in this month. We'll see if I'm correct or not. But I do think by the end of the month, we're going to have a peak in oil prices, and probably we're not going to see it for the next few months. The reason why they are also bullish on oil is exactly because oil just moved up. So this is how the psychology works. They have certain narratives in their minds. So when the charts behave the way they like it, it's a confirmation. When they move against them, oh yeah, this is just an opportunity before the big thing spikes, blah, blah, blah. So basically during the beginning of the conflict, I think oil prices went as high as 130. And of course, Peter Schiff was shouting at people to buy because it was going to go to 200 in no time. Of course, that was the top, and the whole thing went down once again. But again, here is the problem. Everyone has seen the oil prices. Everyone understands oil prices, higher inflation, higher rates. Everyone can make this simple connection, which means it's unlikely to happen, which means it's unlikely to cause a big drop in the stock market. We've just seen higher than expected inflation readings, and about a year ago, that would have crashed completely the markets. Now it doesn't. Why? Maybe market participants are starting to tolerate living in higher inflation than 2% than they were before. For example, in the 90s, rates were not zero in the late 90s, and you had the tech bubble. Inflation was actually a bit high in 2005 and 6. The real estate market went up. But the point is, when everybody is expecting a certain pattern, when everybody is looking at the same thing and predicting the same things, and everybody is bullish on oil, and everything thinks oil is going to go through the moon, then it's poised not to happen. You need to, if you want to play the game of finding black swan events, you need to look at stuff that nobody's concerned about. Example, when the famous disease popped up in late 2019. Everybody was saying that there was no reason for concern. That means there's reason for concern. That's it. It's that simple. in the 90s. Oh, if you buy tech stocks, you're fine. No, that was what crashed. Oh, real estate never went down in the history of America. Our banks are the strongest in the world. So banks and real estate is the lifeblood of the American economy. Exactly what crashed. Same thing here. We all are aware about the oil prices going up. We are all aware of commercial real estate not having enough people, and next year there's a big refinancing. We all know about it. We all know that if sufficient people take out the money from their deposits, particularly in smaller regional banks, the likelihood that they fail is high. We know it. Like everybody knows it. We know that if oil prices go up, inflation goes higher, so rates need to be pulled up, so stocks go down. We get it. But exactly because everybody gets it, everybody's seen the playbook work, then it doesn't happen. If you want to play that little game, I do think we're going to see new all-time highs. I'm not saying that, oh yeah, as soon as we get new all-time highs, then we're going to go straight to S&P 10,000. I didn't say any of that. I said that I do think we're going to see new all-time highs, and I do think by the end of the decade, the US stock market is not going to be doing so well compared to the levels in 2020 or 2021. We'll see. That's a little feeling that I have, the second part of 2030. We'll see if I'm right. Point is, these narratives, they pop up not because they actually lead to any crisis or to any collapse of anything. It's because these people have a pre-narrative in their mind, which is stock market crash, depression, end of the world. Okay, so anything that happens in the world is somehow connected to deliver that fate that they so much anticipate. Why? Because that's how they make their money. They need to sell you Portfolio Shield. They need you to listen to their podcasts. They need you to buy their funds. They need you to buy gold from them. They need to go to the events where they're speaking. They need you to buy their private newsletter, etc., etc., etc. So they need to come up with increasingly bearish, dramatic scenarios, and then they always have a good narrative for it, which is it's either happening because of this thing that everybody's talking about, which is oil prices going up, for example, or because although this is not happening as we predicted, not only not happening, but the complete opposite, right? Because that's what typically happens. But this is the last, then it's always the last step before the abyss. This is the last walking, you see you're walking close to the abyss, and this is you putting yourself on the tip of your toes, and you're about to fall, and the next thing is going to fall, and then you don't fall because somebody pulls you with a rope, but now you're walking into it again, and this is like the Matrix. This is a self-repeating, never-ending story with these people, but then every X amount of years, there is a crash. Typically, for no reason that they have predicted, typically are completely random things, like what happened this time around, and there you go. That's when they go full-fledged. So they start popping up on TV, everybody's buying their books, everybody's watching them on YouTube. So then they go from the crash that they are seeing into the end of the world scenario. US will become a third world country in a week, kind of craziness. The dollar will disappear, hyperinflation, all the banks will fail, people will riot, these kind of things. What I'm trying to say here is be prepared, not only for their explanations during the bull market why nothing of what they're saying has happened, but also for eventually when they are not right, because they are never right. You see, not even when they predict a crash, and I'll tell you why. If you predict a crash every single day, or every single month, or every single year, you are bound to be correct. But you are correct not because you actually understand what happened. You are correct because you said something that is always going to happen, if you give it sufficient time. Same thing as me saying every day that it's going to rain. Yeah, sure. I mean, it will eventually rain, but does that make me someone, a genius, a predictor, or it just makes me inevitably what I'm saying will match the reality? But not because I predicted anything with any value, it's because I'm saying something that must happen every X amount of time. See what I mean? It's a sure thing. It's not a maybe not. Oh my God, it's like a 10% chance of happening. No, this will happen if you say the same thing for 20 years, eventually you're going to be right 1 or 2 times. But what kind of value did that provide to you? Nothing. It's like a broken clock, right? If you have a broken clock in your wrist, what value does it have? None. But it will be correct twice in the day. So never forget about this, guys. Prepare right now. Understand the motivations of these people. You are their source of passive income. Never forget. So thank you very much, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.